Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel, the channel where we discuss mechanical engineering subject. Today we are going to see 3 to 1 principle. This figure shows 12 degrees of freedom for any object in a space. 4 along each axis we can move this object, like in vertical, and 2 transitional movement we can obtain from the same object, like we can see in this animation. Now this degree of freedom, where 2 rotational degree of freedom, so the total of 12 degrees of freedom. So we can restrict this movement on the locating and clamping devices. For that we required a 3 pin base to restrict the phi motion. So one is motion restricted in clockwise direction, another motion restricted in anti-clockwise direction, so that we can restrict this motion by 3 pins. For the other motion 3 restricted by this axis, also motion 4 restricted by this another axis. You can see in this animation the motion 4 is get restricted. So basically we are going to develop the same model based on this principle. Upward motion is also restricted, that is fifth motion. So 2 pin in vertical plane restrict 3 motions. So this will also restrict 6 motion. Then rotation movement is restricted, motion 7 restricted. Then what we have in the same figure, we can restrict another motion 8 is also restricted. So at the model end we will also develop the same model. A single pin in vertical plane restrict the one motion, that is at the another plane. So 3 mutually perpendicular plane will restrict the 9 motion out of 3. The remaining 3 motions we can 3 degree more degree of freedom are free. So motion 10 is free, motion 11 is free, and motion 12 is free. So this remaining 3 degrees of freedom we can restrict by the clamping mechanism, so that we can easily clamp by restricting all these 3 degrees of freedom. So after discussing all these 12 degrees of freedom, let's move on to the building of the same object on the model scale. In earlier animation we have seen that how the free object is there and it has a 12 degrees of freedom. Now you can see these 3 pins at the base will restrict the degrees of freedom at one plane. The other mutually perpendicular plane we have these 2 pins, and single pin will also restrict the motion. So 3 2 1 is the basic locating principle for any object. Now we will place the object on it. So actually 3 points in a space defines the plane. So we can see the object is firmly situated on the plane and it will not move along any of the rotational freedom. Also the 2 pins will restrict the movement of object on the mutually perpendicular lines. So you can see at the bottom all the pins are framing the plane. Also the object cannot be moved. These 2 pins will restrict the movement of object like this one. So the object will not move in any of this direction due to these 2 pins. Now these are the 2 planes only, horizontal plane and vertical plane. You can see one more pin is there at the other end, that is one single pin that will restrict the motion in this axis. So these 3 mutually perpendicular planes are there, and 3 to 1 pins are located, and we can firmly locate the object on it. So remaining 3 we can use it by a clamping mechanism. So for this jig we are using this open type jig, and the clamping mechanism used is a simple bolt is there. So we can rotate that bolt and we can clamp the product on this jig. So this is open type jig used for the centrally drilled hole, and the object is located clamp by using this clamping screw. So this is 3 to 1 principle all in all. And the middle portion, that is used for the jig and for the bush drilling purpose. Okay.